85 degrees. That is the exact temperature where your lawn stops growing and starts fighting just to stay alive. And right now, in these last days of July, the soil beneath your feet is crossing that line every single afternoon. Nobody warned you about that number. A week ago, my own lawn looked fine, green enough. I walked out with my coffee, barefoot, feeling good about it. Then I noticed the footprints. I stepped across the yard, turned around, and my prints were still pressed into the grass behind me. The blades weren't bouncing back up. They were staying flat. That is the first sign. That is your lawn telling you it has run out of water in its cells, and you have only a few days to answer before the damage locks in for the rest of the summer. Here is what made me angry. For years, I did the exact same 3 things every July. I watered a little every evening. I cut the grass short so I wouldn't have to mow as often, and I threw down a bag of summer feed to green it up fast. Every year, and every single August, the lawn went crispy, yellow, and hard as a driveway anyway. I always blamed the weather. I always blamed myself. What I never blamed was the advice printed on the back of the bag, the aisle advice, the label instructions, the friendly little diagram that told me exactly what to do, because most people think they are saving their lawn in this heat, but what they are actually doing is training it to die. I finally got tired of paying twice, so I went looking. I compared what the labels told me to do against what actually happens down in the soil and against how people kept lawns alive long before any of these products existed on a shelf. What I found changed how I see my whole yard. So I'm going to show you 2 things. First, the watering mistake that is quietly killing your grass this week. Second, the mowing and feeding trap that finishes it off. And then I'm going to hand you one old method, one that the garden industry can never sell you in a bag, that stops this from ever happening again. But before I go further, ask yourself one honest question. Do you actually know how much water your lawn got last week? Not how long the sprinkler ran. How much actually reached the roots? Hold that question, because the answer is where everything starts. Part 1 is the mistake almost every homeowner makes right now, and it's the most emotional one because it feels like the most caring thing you can do. Watering your lawn a little bit every single day. Here's the small mystery I couldn't crack at first. I was watering more than my neighbor, yet his lawn was greener and mine was going flat. Same grass, same street, same sun. So I watched what he did, and I read the extension research, and the answer was almost insulting in how simple it was. When you water lightly every evening, the water only soaks into the top half-inch of soil. It never goes deeper. And your grass is not stupid. It builds its roots wherever the water is. So it grows a thin, shallow mat of roots living right at the surface in the top inch of dirt. Now here comes the July afternoon. That top inch of soil is the first thing to bake. It hits over 100 degrees and dries out in hours. And your grass, with all its roots trapped up in that thin baked layer, has nothing to drink. It wilts by 2 in the afternoon. No matter how much you watered the night before, you feel it wilting, so you water even more the next evening. And every time you do, you pull the roots up shallower and you make the lawn more helpless. You are not feeding it, you are addicting it to you. That is the trap. The more often you water, the weaker your lawn gets. Here is the truth. Grass roots can grow 6 inches deep, even a foot deep, if you force them to reach. And roots that deep sit in cool, moist soil that never bakes, even in a heat wave. A lawn with deep roots can go a week or more without a drop and stay green. A lawn with shallow roots is dead in 3 days. So here is how you fix it. Starting simplest. The first method costs you nothing but a change in habit. Stop watering every day. Instead, water deeply 2 times a week. You want to put down 1 inch of water each time. 1 inch soaks about 6 inches down into most soil, and that is exactly the depth you want those roots chasing. Now, how do you know when you've put down 1 inch? This is the second method, and it costs almost nothing. Set an empty tuna can on the grass while the sprinkler runs. When the water in that can reaches 1 inch deep, you're done. Time how long that took? Most sprinklers need somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes to deliver it. Now you know your number forever, and the timing matters more than you think. Water before 10 in the morning, ideally right at dawn. Why? Because water on the blades in the cool morning soaks in before the sun burns it off and the grass dries by midday. Water in the evening and the blades stay wet all night, which is exactly how you invite fungus to move in and rot your lawn from the leaf down. Notice what nobody in that garden aisle ever told you. They never told you to water less often. Think about why that might be. A lawn with deep roots and good habits doesn't need much from them. A shallow, panicked lawn that wilts every afternoon sends you back into the store, reaching for another product to fix the symptom they helped create. That was the first thread I pulled. And once I saw who benefits when your lawn stays helpless, I couldn't stop pulling. If you want to go deeper on exactly this, the mechanisms underneath, the old methods, the aisle will never stock, I put everything I found into a guide called the Amish Lawn Guide, part of a complete set that also includes the Amish Soil Guide and the Complete Amish Yard Field Edition. It is the research I wish someone had handed me before I burned through years of bags and wasted summers. You can find the link in the description below, and the whole set is available for $97, a one-time cost that will save you far more than that in a single season. Everything I cover in this video goes several layers deeper in there. If this is already making you rethink what you've been doing every night with the hose, do me one favor and hit subscribe. This channel is for people who are done being sold the symptom and want the mechanism underneath the stuff the aisle keeps deliberately fuzzy. That's the whole reason I make these. One click, and then let's keep going, because the next mistake is the one that actually burns your grass alive. Part 2 is a completely different problem, and it hides behind two things you do because you think you're being a good, tidy homeowner. Cutting the grass short and feeding it in the heat. Both of them in late July are quiet disasters. Let me start with the mower, because the mistake here is the universal one. You set the blade low, you tell yourself that if you cut it short now, you'll get more days between mows and less work. It feels efficient, it feels clean, but what is actually happening is that every time you scalp your lawn short, you strip away the one thing keeping the soil cool. Here's the mechanism. The grass blade is a solar panel and a sunshade at the same time. Tall blades shade the soil surface. That shade can keep the ground 10 to 15 degrees cooler than bare, scalped dirt. Remember 85 degrees, the point where roots quit? Tall grass keeps your soil under that line. Short grass lets it sail right past it. Cut your lawn short in a heat wave, and you do three things at once. You expose the soil so it bakes and dries in half the time. You force the plant to burn its stored energy, regrowing leaf instead of root. And you open gaps of bare dirt where the sun blasts through, which is a personal invitation to crabgrass and weeds, because their seeds need hot, sunlit soil to sprout. So here is the rule that saves it. In summer, raise your mower to at least 3 inches, and don't be afraid of 3.5 or 4. And never, ever cut off more than 1/3 of the blade in a single mow. Cut more than 1/3 and you shock the plant so hard it stops growing roots entirely for days while it scrambles to replace leaf. I want to be very clear about the stakes. A scalped lawn in this heat doesn't slowly fade. It goes from green to straw in about a week, and once the crown of the plant cooks, that patch is not coming back this year. You will be looking at it brown and dead until autumn. Now, the second half of this trap, and this is the one the industry loves most, summer feeding. Most people, when their lawn starts looking pale and tired in July, reach for a bag of fast nitrogen fertilizer to green it back up. It makes perfect sense. The lawn looks hungry, so you feed it. I did it for years, but here's what is actually happening. In high heat, cool season grass has already downshifted. It is trying to conserve energy and just survive. When you dump fast nitrogen on it, you force it to do the one thing it cannot afford, push out a flush of tender new growth in the worst possible conditions. That new growth needs water. The roots can't supply. So it burns. And there's a chemical side too. Most of those quick release fertilizers are salts. Spread salt on dry, hot soil, and it pulls moisture out of the grass roots the same way salt draws water out of anything. That's the literal fertilizer burn. You see those yellow and brown streaks exactly where the spreader ran. You paid $40 to scorch your own lawn. So let me give you the feeding options from the safest floor up. Method 1, and this is the one I want you to actually follow this week. In a heat wave, do not put down any fast synthetic nitrogen at all. None. The best feeding move in late July is to not feed. Wait until the weather breaks in September when the grass is actively growing again and can use it. Method 2, if you feel you must put something down, use a slow-release organic feed, something gentle like a light layer of screened compost or a well-aged organic pellet. It releases nutrients slowly over weeks, and it won't spike growth or draw water out of the roots. It works with the plant instead of whipping it. Method 3, the one a careful groundskeeper reaches for, is a foliar dose of liquid seaweed or kelp. It's not really a fertilizer. It feeds the plant trace minerals and natural hormones that help it handle heat stress and hold on to water without forcing new growth. A small bottle costs a few dollars and lasts a whole season. Now step back and look at the pattern I found, because this is where it stopped being about grass. The label tells you to cut regularly and feed all summer. Following the label makes your lawn shallow-rooted, heat-stressed, and burned, which makes it thin and weedy, which sends you back for a weed killer and more seed and more feed. Every product on that shelf sells you the cure for the damage the product beside it caused. I'm not saying anyone sat in a room and planned that. I'm saying the whole system only makes money while your lawn stays dependent and fragile. A truly healthy, self-sufficient lawn is a terrible customer. It buys almost nothing. So the advice that would give you one is the advice you will never find printed on a bag. And that is exactly what sent me looking for how people did this before the bags existed. Because lawns and green fields survived brutal summers for hundreds of years with no garden aisle at all, somebody knew something we forgot. Part 3, prevention. And this is the whole reason I made this video. The method is top dressing your lawn with a thin layer of compost. That's it. That is the thing the industry could never figure out how to sell you in a way that keeps you coming back, because it does the opposite of everything on that shelf. It makes your lawn need them less every single year. Here is why it works in one breath. A thin layer of finished compost adds organic matter to your soil, and organic matter is a sponge. Every 1% you raise the organic matter in your soil lets that soil hold roughly 20,000 more gallons of water per acre. That is not a slogan. That is a measured figure from soil research. You are literally building a water reservoir under your grass that fills when it rains and feeds the roots slowly through every heat wave. It does 3 things at once. It holds moisture so your lawn survives drought without you standing there with a hose. It feeds the soil life, the worms and microbes that keep releasing gentle nutrients, so you never need that burning bag of nitrogen. And it insulates the crown of the plant against the very heat that's cooking your yard right now. Here is exactly how you do it, and it takes 1 weekend. Get finished, screened compost. A well-rotted, crumbly, dark compost, not fresh manure. Mow your lawn a touch shorter than usual, just this once. Then, spread the compost over the grass in a layer no thicker than 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. That is thin. You should still see the tips of the grass poking through. Then take the back of a rake or a stiff broom and work it down between the blades so it settles onto the soil, not on top of the leaves. Water it in. That's the whole method. And here is the part I love. This is not some new trick. Greenkeepers have been top dressing turf with thin layers of soil and compost since the 1800s. It is how the oldest, finest lawns and playing fields in England survived without a single synthetic chemical, because those chemicals didn't exist yet. Old kitchen gardeners did the same to their ground every year. The knowledge was never lost by the people who actually grow things. It was just quietly left off the shelf, because you cannot build a repeat business on the thing that makes a customer self-sufficient. Somebody kept doing it in the quiet. Now you know it too. And the money is real. A season of summer feed, extra seed to patch the dead spots, and the water you pour onto a shallow-rooted lawn adds up fast, easily over $100 a year for an average yard, year after year, forever. Top dressing with compost, especially if you make your own, can cut that to almost nothing And unlike the bag, the benefit compounds. Your soil gets a little richer and a little more drought proof every single year you do it, instead of starting from zero every spring. So which one is for you? If you've got a smaller yard and you're tight on time, do the compost top dressing once a year and just fix your watering to twice a week with the tuna-can. That alone will transform it. If you've got a big, thirsty lawn that browns out every August, do the top dressing and raise your mowing height to at least 3 inches. You'll cut your water bill and your work in half. And if your lawn is already stressed and pale right now, this week, skip all feeding, water deep tomorrow morning, and wait for the cool of September to top dress. Don't pile stress on stress. Now, here's the honest catch. The new problem you are about to run straight into. When you fix your soil and your lawn finally goes deep-rooted and healthy, it thickens up and starts choking out those weak, thin spots. But there is a window, right as your lawn transitions, where every bare patch left from this summer's damage becomes prime real estate for one specific invader. Crabgrass. It is waiting for exactly that hot, open soil, and it moves fast. If you're already seeing those low spreading star-shaped weeds creeping into your thin spots, type the word crabgrass in the comments and tell me one thing, whether it's in patches or spread across the whole lawn. I read them and it tells me how many of you are hitting this next wall, because that's the thing I keep coming back to. A healthy lawn was never meant to be hard or expensive or a battle you lose every July. That knowledge was taken from you slowly, one bag at a time, and all you did was trust the label. Now you've got a piece of it back. My next video exposes exactly how to beat that crabgrass invasion without the toxic pre-emergent. They'll try to sell you the old way, the way that actually keeps it from ever coming back. Subscribe right now so it lands in front of you the moment it goes up, because if you fix your soil this week, that is the exact fight you'll be walking into next. Don't miss it. I've walked you through the mistake and the trap, but I stopped right before the part that fixes it. Inside the Amish garden circle, I pick up right where this video ended. And if something's not working in your yard, you can ask me directly. A real person answers, not a machine. Gardeners like you are already in there with me. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen. Cancel anytime, one click. Now, before that heat does more damage, there's one simple thing your lawn truly needs each summer to stay thick and green. I'll show you exactly what it is in the next video, starting right here.